Hey everyone, this is Randy from BibleBuyingGuide.com. Today I have in my hands the ESV Crossway Heirloom Legacy 2021 edition, made in the Netherlands by Royal Youngblood. It is back to the Netherlands. This Bible was originally made in the Netherlands as an heirloom, and then also made in Italy by Lego as just a standard Bible. And then the heirloom eventually went to China, and I didn't care for it a whole lot, but it was a nice Bible. It just wasn't an heirloom, I didn't feel. But it's back. I like that it's back. So now it's back to the Netherlands, and I have the 2021 edition. And now I'm going to compare it to the original models, and we'll see what the differences are. But first, let's take a look at it. We have a goatskin leather. It has a smooth green. It's very similar to the leather on the ESV Preaching Bible. The goatskin has a semi-bright finish. The liner is split cowhide. On the front, we have perimeter stitching, and nothing printed on the front. We have 4 raised spine hubs with the new ESV logo, Holy Bible, English Standard Version, and Crossway. So they've reduced the spine material. We have our 4 ribbons in multiple colors, and these are 1/4 inch. And then art gilt with red under gold. Has a little bit of a salmon look to it. Then the liner, we have a gold gilt line all the way across. Technically, when you say gilt, you mean gold, but I said it twice. And then we have our edge line tab. Now this tab is not overly stiff. It is a little bit right there at the front, but it's not overly stiff when you open it, as you'll see in a minute. So we have our presentation pages, which includes some family pages, marriages, births, adoptions, and deaths, and then we have our paper. Now this is the 28 GSM Endopaque made in France, and this paper is a Royal Youngblood exclusive, so no one else can make with this paper. This is the 2016 edition of the ESV, printed in the Netherlands, published by Crossway. Now 28 GSM, it's a thin paper, but it's also an elegant paper. It's coated, and it has titanium pigment that improves the opacity. So this is an expensive paper, some of the most expensive paper you can get. And then we have our print. Now, just like the rest of this Bible, all the extras are printed in the margin. This design is based on the Renaissance idea of the perfect page. Here we go through the features, and then we have our text. 9-point font, single column, paragraph edition with section headings in the margin. We have wide margins on all sides. The inner margin is large enough to bring the text out of the gutter onto the flat part of the page, making it easy to read. 9-point lexicon, which is a beautiful font. Lots of space between the lines. 14 words per line. Normally, I would say that's too much, but being on the flat part of the page and having lots of extra space between the lines, it does help make it easy to read. And 14 words per line is the best word count for poetry. It's not necessarily my favorite for prose, but it is my favorite for poetry. And then we have our footer. We have the ESV footnotes down here in the footer. Now, I like having the section headings in the margin. For one thing, you can write in the margins if you want to. So this is a wide margin Bible. But by having the section headings out here, you can just read and not have any interruptions in the text. It's beautiful. This is a black letter text. Stays open easily. Show you back here at the beginning of Genesis. Stays open, no trouble. Little bit of a hump there. This Bible is still new. I've had it for a week, but it's still, it'll break in a little bit better. But still, that's usable. That's readable. That's no trouble with that at all. Printed with line matching, meaning that the lines on both sides of the page are printed in the same location. This improves readability. Now, if the paper wasn't opaque enough, then there would be too much black showing through from the back side of this page, and that would make the text gray. This doesn't have that problem, as you can see. Good, clean, sharp text. So that's what you get with line matching. It just matches the lines, and you don't have that printing in between the lines on the other side of the page, which would make the page look bad. That's clean. It's pretty. And it stays open, no problem. No trouble. And you already saw what the poetry looks like. Why I like 14 words per line. That's it right there for poetry. It's beautiful. Just plain beautiful. And this paper is easy enough to turn. No trouble turning it. This is a Smythe sewn Bible with gold and black head-tail bands. And then here are our ribbons. The 4 colors, which I like that they have 4 colors: black, dark brown, brown, and beige. Now this does have Smythe sewn, but it does not have overcast stitching. So overcast stitching, you'll have a section in the front with a line of stitching across the edge all the way down. This page, you can see the stitching. I'm not sure it shows up there, but I can see it here. You'll see the stitching. Overcast would be a very tight line of stitching that goes all the way down this way, on right here where my finger is touching, all the way right there. This does not include that. Overcast would make the first signature stand out from the rest. So, like if this was the first signature, it would sit like this. It would sit like that. You'd notice that. Beautiful Psalms. Now this leather is flexible. You can do anything you want to with it, but at the same time, it's easy enough to hold open to read. And it's a little bit floppy there. It is floppy, but it's easy enough to hold open and read. I usually lay it across my arm like that right there. No trouble. Normally a Bible this size, though, I would leave on the table, or it's easy enough to carry. It's not that large of a Bible. It's easy enough to carry. Some prefer to fold a page back or something like that. I don't like to do that because it puts stress on the stitches. The more stress you put on the stitches, the faster this will tear. I like to hold I don't like to hold it by the paper either. I like to just hold mine by the cover. So here's what our layout looks like. It's just a beautiful layout. They knew what they were doing when they designed this one. One of my favorite designs for any Bible. And when I think of an ESV, this is the Bible I think of. I think of the Heirloom Legacy, or any Legacy, but specifically the Heirloom. It's just a pretty Bible. Then in the back we have our table of weights and measures. Just a single table with a biblical unit, approximate American and metric equivalents, and then the biblical equivalent. It does not give you any references where these are used. These are also found in the footnotes. Footnotes are a little bit difficult to read. That's a small text. This is a 9-point. I'm not sure what size that is. It's probably a 4 or 5. It's small. I'm having trouble reading that, to be honest. Then our concordance. This is a good concordance. 72 pages, if I remember the number correctly, with 2 columns per page, and it includes proper names. Most concordances do not include proper names. I like when they do, because you need to look up people. You might as well have it in there. So we'll see how many it has for God, just to get you an idea of how large this concordance is. If I remember my alphabet, so we have God starting here, and then going all the way down through here, then godliness, godly, gods. So quite a few. And then back here we have our 8 pages of maps, and these are the semi-gloss paper, thick pages, and with the earth tone colors, not overly bright, but they do have color. I like these maps. Some topography, good maps. So let's measure and weigh this thing. We have the overall measurement. I give you the overall. The publishers give you the trim size. I give you the overall size because if you're looking for a cover to put this in, or putting it in a bookcase or something, that's the size you need. So we're looking at almost 6.5, not quite, but almost. And then just a touch over 9 3/4. And then just a touch over 1 1/4. Now it looks more than that here because of the way that bows. That's got a bow, but it actually is smaller than that. 1 1/4 there. Just a touch over 1 1/4 at the spine. And it weighs 2 pounds, 5 point something ounces. 2 pounds, 5.2 ounces. Now the previous model was made in China, and the edition that I had was the blue, which I like the blue. The blue is pretty. The leather looks elegant enough. It feels good enough. It's a goat skin. This Bible is a lot thicker because it used thicker paper. So there's how the thickness compares. And this was a good enough Bible. I felt that it was a good Bible. However, I didn't feel like it was an heirloom. Didn't remind me of an heirloom Bible. The paper is the main thing. It's a rough paper. It just didn't strike me as fitting the price point. So that was my issue with this paper. Not really a good price. Not good for the price point. This is a more elegant paper. Thickness is not necessarily what you go by when you're talking about a quality for paper. Here's how they compare. So I felt like that was a good Bible, but not for that price point. It just feels too rough. The leather is thick, and it is sewn, Smythe sewn. But you can see how the pages separate here. It's just not as smooth, not as put together well. Not as high quality of manufacturing. So the manufacturing quality is just not there for this Bible. And you can feel it in your hands. It just has a little bit of a looseness to it. Just doesn't feel. It has 4 navy ribbons, so no multicolor here. Now that's just this blue one though. I don't know what the black one would have looked like. And then the previous model from Royal Youngblood, which was the model. This is the model they had before they went to China. So here's how they compare. Same paper, it feels like the same text block. There's the size difference. Same. They are the same. The only differences are possibly the ribbons. The ribbons on the previous model are thinner, but not as wide. You can see the width difference there. And the leather has a deeper grain. I'm not sure how that's showing up in the camera, but quite a bit deeper grain on the leather. But now, leather changes over time because they use what they can. So if they had never left the Netherlands, this might be what they would be using right now anyway. But the manufacturing quality feels the same. They both feel tight, both feel strong. Leather thickness, not sure. I kind of think the leather on the new one is a little thinner. Slightly thinner than this one. And that could be why this one, could be why the original had a deeper grain. This leather feels a touch stiffer though. So that they may have changed it in order to be a little bit more flexible. Not quite so loose, not quite so thick. So here's how they compare. So comparing the paper, I have the new one on top. And the paper on the new one looks slightly whiter than the original. And it looks a little bit more opaque. Just barely. You have to really look hard to tell, but I think the new one is a little bit more opaque, and the print looks slightly darker. But that's me splitting hairs. I'd also like to compare to the Preaching Bible. The ESV Preaching Bible, this one is the verse-by-verse edition, but the leather is about the same between them. The reason I want to compare this one is I think the leather is just about the same. Very similar. This is probably the leather that it's closest to. So just to give you an idea of how this compares, there's the thickness. The footprint is just about the same. Almost the same. But here is, so this paper is thicker and the font is larger. And of course this is the verse by verse edition. The paragraph edition is laid out more similar to the Legacy, but it includes the section headings in the text. So here's how they compare in text and in opacity of paper. So of all the goatskin leather that I have, I think the Preaching Bible is probably the closest, probably the most similar. The leather on the Legacy is a little thicker than on the Preaching Bible, but the texture and the look and design is almost exactly the same. This one on the Legacy is a little shinier. Other than that, they look and feel the same. The liners are also different. The liner on the Preaching Bible has a little bit different texture, and since this leather is thinner, it's actually a little bit too floppy to hold open, while the Legacy is quite a bit easier to hold open. So that's my quick look at the Heirloom Legacy from Crossway as produced by Royal Youngblood in the Netherlands. I am grateful to see this back in the Netherlands. So this is a good Bible. I'm grateful that they've brought it back to the Netherlands. This releases in November. Crossway did supply this in exchange for an honest review, and my honest review is it's back. What you know about the Heirloom Legacy from the Netherlands, you know about this Bible. It is back. And I'm grateful to see it back. It needs to be produced in the Netherlands. So I'm going to place a link in the notes so that you can make a purchase if you're interested, and also so that you can see the written review at BibleBuyingGuide.com, where I always go into more detail in writing, because I'm a writer, not a speaker. But I'm naturally a writer, not naturally a speaker. I'll say it that way. So if you have any questions, let me know. I will try to answer. And thanks for watching.